I'd like to preface this review by showing you this picture and having a slight rant, because it very accurately demonstrates the sad state of autism representation that we have had for a very long time, at least up until recent years. Even outside of animation, representation of people on the spectrum has often been non-autistic actors with little to no input from autistic people, and some of them have just set terrible stereotypes of people on the spectrum. Often the representation has made the majority of autistic people look selfish and obnoxious and even non-functional, or like they have to be a constant burden upon others. Or even that they don't try. That one drives me mad. And in animation, our representation has been minimal to none for a very long time, with many shows taking the cowardly route of never actually acknowledging a character is on the spectrum within the show, and many show writers only doing so in a passing Twitter comment, often after the show is done. As much as I love that SpongeBob is on the spectrum and he's my favorite character on the spectrum, I can only canonically say he's on the spectrum because the voice actor and voice director of SpongeBob, Tom Kenny, did acknowledge it once. But it was only acknowledged at a convention outside the show, recorded by a random fan on their smartphone. Even if you and I can clearly see it in his traits, the show never outwardly states it. Even a show like Owl House is thought by fans to have a ton of neurodivergent representation, but the main character Luz was only acknowledged outside the show to be neurodivergent. Most of the adult audience for these cartoons are autistic. There's a very good chance you're a neurodivergent if you're watching this video. And here's one of the biggest examples. For decades, Thomas the Tank Engine has had zero autism representation, despite again a lot of its biggest fans being autistic, and a very good portion of its adult fan base being autistic. It was only in 2022 Bruno the Brake Car was introduced, who is canonically an autistic character, and yes, he actually has an autistic actor. Shocking, I know.
Today is going to be difficult. We'll all need to do our jobs and help.
A shame about him being in the crappiest Thomas the Tank Engine show of all Engines Go. All this rant aside, the point I wanted to get across to you is, with some exceptions, most of autism representation has been utter crap. As you can see in this picture, the majority of these shows we've had to headcanon characters as autistic in order to have decent representation. And with 83 million autistic people in the world, there's just no excuse. Carl the Collector is an exception in this representation problem. Yes, this is me finally getting to the point. Carl the Collector is a polite, friendly raccoon who is canonically on the spectrum. He doesn't meet any of the stereotypes either. He doesn't seem like a constant burden on his family and friends. He's not obnoxious and he's not deeply selfish. And yes, he actually functions around others.
Hold still, Sheldon. Problem solved. We all just want to clean up the park. Hold on. I think we'll need a few things, like gloves, more bags, and grabbers to pick up the trash. Be right back.
He can hang out as one of the kids with his friends, yet he's also very clearly on the spectrum. You can see it in the way he speaks and in the way he moves. Speaking like a child on the spectrum is something that doesn't take acting from an autistic actor. If they hire an actually autistic child, a child on the spectrum can just talk. And yeah, they did that by hiring Kai.
He's also autistic, which I am too.
You can notice the small details about him, like his tonal shifts in speech.
It's called upcycling, Sheldon. You take something old and use it for something new and different.
And honestly, I haven't heard an autistic child's voice be convincingly faked by a neurotypical actor, but I've heard this way of speaking from so many kids on the spectrum over the years.
That is the third piece of blue pottery you have sold so far.
Side note, forgive me for restating a few points from my autistic cartoon characters video here, but many people never saw the video or watched it long enough to see my Carl the Collector review, and I wanted to make clear some of my points. As a person on the spectrum myself, I can see that Carl does a ton of things I also personally do. Carl's autism feels clear and it doesn't feel fake. He averts his gaze when people look at him too long. That's such a simple detail that I rarely see from autistic cartoon characters. But he does try as well, he doesn't just stare at the ground all the time. The whole trying thing, we'll get back to that point. And as I said, they don't portray Carl as a burden upon his family and friends. And that's a really important detail in a show. The cartoon absolutely acknowledges that he has his own unique challenges and his own preferred way of doing things. But he also has his personal strengths, which can help his friends. And so importantly, He actually tries on a daily basis. He cleans up the park just like all his friends do. He plays the games all his friends play. He helps his mum with the garage sale and doesn't just sit inside. This may seem like an odd point to make, but it's important because autistic or not, I personally never expect people to succeed in life. I just ask them to try. Succeed or fail, if a person tries, I will always respect them a lot more. This is why I don't like a character like Daria. She doesn't seem to try on a daily basis. Carl tries to empathize with others. He tries to play with his friends. He tries to enter society and live his life. There's plenty of nice tiny details to Carl too. He messes up his intonations sometimes. I do that too.
No, thank you. Please just state, yes, please, with hot sauce.
You don't generally hear it because I do like 3 to 4 takes, but generally I do. And no one in the show is drawing huge attention to the fact that he's autistic. He's not the star of a very special episode about understanding how hard some people have it. He's just a kid who happens to be autistic. These behaviors aren't portrayed as a burden to others. These behaviors are just a part of Carl. This world doesn't need to stop to pay attention to him. Carl just gets to be one of the kids. Another common trait for autistic people is taking a literal interpretation of things. And yeah, Carl often takes a literal interpretation of things.
It's boiling hot out. The temperature is not boiling hot, Forrest. If it were that hot, the water in our bottles would be boiling.
I do the same thing when people say forever. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not forever. It's for 100 trillion years until the heat death of the universe. Anyway, another important detail is the show isn't made specifically for people on the spectrum. It can be enjoyed by anyone, but it is made with people on the spectrum in mind. Part of why I don't have a lot of flickers, fast footage, or loud noises in my videos is I want to give an experience that is pleasant for people on the spectrum, but can still be enjoyed by everyone. And Carl the Collector is a show that takes the time to think about this too. The colors, the music, and the sound of the show are gentler than many other cartoons I've seen. This can reduce sensory overload. It's similar to a show like Puff and Rock in that way, which also has very low sensory overload. Like, compare this to a show like Teen Titans Go, which has ridiculous sensory overload. Both Puff and Rock and Carl the Collector calm my senses a bit. Plus, I like the show isn't purely focused on Carl. Even though Carl's name is in the title, the show is focused on all these kids and their personal challenges. Like, in a forest of plans, Forrest is the main focus, forgetting all the things he's meant to be doing. Which is probably something any kid with ADHD, or any kid raised on TikTok really, could probably relate to. He does disappoint Carl, but Carl doesn't act like a selfish kid. He's disappointed at Forrest, but he still shows up for his race to cheer him on. That, to me, is an autistic character I can respect because he's trying.
I guess I ruined everything. Not everything, just a few things.
As I said, I'll never expect a person to succeed in life, just that they try. And Carl does that.
I know a better way to tie that. May I please? Oh, sorry.
So, post-editing Strider here, I did a complete disservice to Lotta Fox, who's Carl's friend and also on the spectrum. Like I do, she experiences hypersensitivity to loud sounds. Lotta also struggles with certain food textures, which is a big issue for many people on the spectrum. Unlike Carl, who stims by wiggling his fingers quite often, Lotta stims by twirling her tail.
I would totally be able to live on my planet. I call it no noisia. It's so soothing, peaceful, and quiet.
I'm still watching the show and I'm looking forward to more episodes focusing on her. Thank you to the patron who reminded me of Lotta. I did a big disservice to Lotta in this video and that's on me. And it doesn't feel pandering. Even as an adult, I enjoy it fine. I'm invested in these kids learning about themselves. Even a story about Forrest running around trying to make multiple friend commitments is interesting to me. Carl sitting under the table to help with a garage sale is interesting to me. Carl and his friends helping clear up the park is interesting to me. And the show's reviews on IMDb are mostly really great. MV Lassen pointed out that even at 17 years old, they still found themselves really attached to the show. And as Cottage Clean mentions here, both of their autistic kids like the show. But you know the frustrating part of all this? For all the praise I've heaped at this show, it was barely noticed by the public. It was released 2 years ago, and on IMDb, it's had 176 ratings, and 12 people have bothered to review it. To put it in perspective for you, Bluey has had 47,000 ratings, and 406 users have reviewed it, and 5 critics have reviewed it. Carl the Collector had 1 award nomination, and it didn't win. I'm not claiming the show is perfect, but it was an original idea, not based off another IP, and it had likable characters, but it was just forgotten. And it did so many steps in autism representation, and it had the guts to actually say it had autism representation. I don't think being angry about this is going to do any good towards bringing more representation, but you do have the right to be bothered by this. The thing is, I'm tired of accepting table scraps. I'm tired of the only acknowledgement of SpongeBob being on the spectrum being a passing mention at a convention, recorded on a fan's smartphone camera. I'm tired of that probably being the best we'll probably ever get. I'm tired of people having to assume cartoon characters on the spectrum because of tiny hints in the show, with no acknowledgement from the show itself. I'm tired of the best acknowledgement we get of these things is a random Twitter post from a writer a decade after. I'm tired of the only autistic character in Thomas and Friends being introduced in the crappiest Thomas cartoon that even the kids can't stand and don't bother to watch. I'm tired of accepting non-autistic actors playing autistic characters as good enough. You deserve better. But yeah, Carl the Collector is a fantastic show. Thanks for watching.
Why?
Well, given that mostly turned into my thinly veiled rant on the mediocre state of autism representation, I'd like to lighten things up a bit with some silly fortune readings of my patrons. You probably noticed I'm a little anxious this month, and I've got to thank my patrons for helping me keep me grounded. Even when it feels like things are crumbling around me, I'm so lucky to still have their support. And now, let's read the shout-out patrons' fortunes. Anna Jones, unable to generate fortune. Please try again. Oh, okay, wrong one. One who admires you greatly, Anna Jones, is hidden right before your eyes. Wonder if they're talking about their cat. I think my cat admires me. Phoenix Star YT, your fortune is, keep your feet on the ground, even though friends flatter you. Good advice. John Bundy, my friend. The cure for grief is motion. Oh wow, that's actually quite deep. Angel Angeline, you will be forced to face fear, but if you do not run, fear will be afraid of you. Oh, I like that one. Glitterwolf, a person is born to live and not prepare to live. 3 Cat Day, it's never crowded along the extra mile, unless you live in South Korea or China. They work 50-hour days. Pixel Puppy, here's your fortune. Compassion is a way of being. Oh, these are quite deep, I like these. Katie and Dalton, as always, one for each of you. Katie, you have an unusual equipment for success. Use it properly. Dalton, my friend, you will be given the chance to take part in an exciting adventure. The Furry of Fury, you are very grateful for the small pleasures of life. Oh, are you now? Miss Arceus, dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Joseph Bowers, the person who waits till tomorrow misses the opportunities of today. Jordan McKinn, the problem with resisting temptation is that it may never come again. Well, I mean, though if you eat the donut every time, you'll end up a pie shop. Chandler Amethyst, the greatest risk is not taking one. Megan Bruns, a very attractive person has a message for you. Well, I can't make a joke about your pet this time because it says person. The Hug Wizard, birds are entangled by their feet and people by their tongues. Ray Graves, the time is right to make new friends. I should take that advice. Satin Yoshi, my friend. Many folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. William Johnson, someone close to you is waiting for you to call. Dassin, according to this, everything will now come your way. I don't trust the cookie on this one. How about some things will now come your way? Joe Ferry, when you look down, all you see is dirt, so keep looking up. But what if you're on the pavement? What if you're in your house? Then you look down and you see vinyl or carpet. Anyway, Joe Ferry, happiness comes from a good life, not happiness, happiness. So there you go. Mewtwo Shadow FNAF Girl, everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. Like polio. Sorry. Oh, I hate that one. Mewtwo, you're getting another one. Mewtwo Shadow FNAF Girl, according to this, you are always welcome in any gathering. I definitely wouldn't test that theory though. I'm disagreeing with a fortune on this one. Check it Omega, a well-aimed spear is worth 3. I guess if you throw spears at people, maybe. I don't recommend throwing spears at people. Kelly Bisson, a new voyage will fill your life with untold memories. Oh, are you going on a cruise, Kelly? And finally, Neil Speed. Pick a path with a heart. I try to myself, but I don't always succeed. Thanks again to my patrons and you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.